You're good.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for coming along to another live stream. I am going to work on a face today. I'm going to do it in a way that I don't share very often because it doesn't have like a one-to-one sort of thing. Because a lot of times you want to see, okay, how do you paint what you see? I don't necessarily do a lot of invention and naturalism or reality, kind of as you're looking at it, always has a lot of cool, subtle lighting things that happen, and I've just got a mix of things. Hey, David, would you sorry, you just got comfortable. Would you hand me the painting over there? I realized I didn't grab that. So I've got two sources that I'm gonna kind of work from today, and so I've got an actual study, which here it is. Oh, it's crossing the three, I've got the actual study, which I'm going to be referencing. And then I'm going to be referencing a picture that I used to kind of get some of the structure of the face. So I've tried to include both of those in the stream so you can see my study from life. I painted this nice bearded older gentleman back at the gosh, the words escape me, the workshop that I did about a month ago. And it's been really helpful in creating some older looking, at least like, hey, what happens with a white beard? What does it do as it nears the skin? What does it do as it kind of comes around? And what are the general kind of rules? And also, I'm a free model, so a lot of times I just need somebody to sit in for me, and I'll just do that when I need to do it like that day. Sometimes it's just like, hey, well, I'm here, and I'll have my wife shoot a couple pictures. So the main facial structure I'm taking from the photograph of myself, and then I'll be kind of both aging and working on the beard so that it all kind of works within space. This is also a thing that could always go sideways, and that's realizing that, yeah, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. I'm not totally after a likeness of myself or of the other person that I had the studies from life done, but I am looking for this interesting mixture that is believable and that just works. And so I'm going to be kind of taking parts from each one, and I'll just talk a little bit about that process so that when you get into your paintings that you're working on, you can begin to know, like, what are the important things to look for when I'm kind of creating this weird montage or this weird assembly painting from a lot of different images, because that happens a lot in commissions and other things too. So thanks for being here today. I've already mixed some skin tones. What I like to do is I've got lead white here, cad yellow, yellow ochre, cad red, cerulean, viridian, alizarin crimson, burnt sienna, and ultramarine blue. And between those, I kind of mixed a bunch of skin tones here, some darks that were cooler and some that were warmer, and some mid-tones that did similar things. And I exaggerated a little bit, so some very blue. You're probably not going to find that exact color anywhere on the person, but that color mixed with some of the others, I can get some of the skin tones I'm looking for. And then some lighter colors that again, some are like very light blue or like kind of a light purple, and various kind of plays on oranges. Some a little more yellow, some a little more orange red, some even kind of more of a pink. And between all of those, I can begin pushing and pulling and creating some of those really interesting and subtle skin tones as I look to block this in the next 2 hours. So I think that's about all the explaining I have to do, and I will dive in. As always, if you have questions, I am more than willing and happy to address those. And Yeah, so feel free to ask. I'm going to get out a handful of kind of smaller brushes, 4s and 6s, at least in this 239 Utrecht series. These are synthetics. I'm going to, I think, largely use those. For the beard, I might go a little bigger here with a 10. And yeah, just kind of taking a look at the roster here. A couple of small little liner brushes too always will be needed. And all right, David's kind of watching the stream as he gets opportunity. So if he, thanks David for doing so.
Joanne said, "Afternoon all. I will catch you when I get back home. Christmas shopping at the moment."
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Thanks, Joanne. Good to have you. And I hope you find some good gifts. You're on top of it all before Thanksgiving. I'm impressed. So, all right. With that, I think I'm going to kind of get started. A lot of times I'm working on the space. I can't really see the darks anymore here, and so I'm going to get a little bit of walnut oil gel and just kind of rub this in. So I can see what did this look like over here when the paint was fresh and clean and nice, and all that kind of rich color is there. Two, this will give me kind of an oil base that I can begin to work into as I'm painting on the face here. But it's not just kind of on a dry canvas. This will give it a little more flow as I'm working. A little more cohesion. Then you can just see the richness. As soon as you do something like that, you're like, oh wow, this deep dark blue here, quite beautiful. It's called getting sunken in. That's why you always want to varnish your work at the end. And throughout the process, you're probably going to want to oil out like this so you can see things how they looked. This part is still wet. I did that 2 days? Oh, I don't know. Maybe 2 days ago. Either way, I can't get up there or I'll make a mess. So I guess let's get started. Gonna kind of look around. It's a little complicated because I do. I can't make this really kind of dark line underneath the beard because it just doesn't. So it exists in my photo reference of me, but I don't think it'll exist when I consider some of the studies that I did. And so here's what I'm kind of talking about. This can go sideways at any time, and we're just going to do our best. And I'm not decided whether I want to have the mouth slightly open in wonder or not. That's another one of those, like, we'll see when we get there. I like some level of that. It makes me nervous, but at the same time, I think it creates some excitement. All right, I'm still going to start with some of the darkest areas, which I see here in the neck. And that shadow underneath there will still be significant and dark, and so I'll probably start there and work my way up. So let's get started. Just laying in those colors. If I structure the face a little different, make that beard a little wider, it won't be quite as slim as my jawline is, kind of to a point, kind of going for a different face structure. If we come out of this with something that looks human, then we've done okay. The last painting I did a similar thing and it seemed to go all right. So either I got lucky, or I've trained long enough to make good decisions, or I could totally botch this thing. That's the other great thing about does not make one terribly confident doing it on the live stream for the whole world to see, but we'll see how it turns out. Thanks for tuning in, though. Thanks for watching years from now as well. So I'm still working on this these darker shadows that I see. Just gonna block those in on either side, and I can work into some of the lighter areas. There's a little bit of reflected light that's happening in the neck, and
Ernie Wood says, started watching a little late. Who is this character?
This would be one of the... Hi, Dad. This would be one of the teachers of the law. So I'm working on... I am now at the 5th Joyful Mystery. We're working on the 5 of them. And so the narrative is Jesus as a young boy in the temple, and the teachers are kind of amazed at his understanding. And so this would be one of the teachers. I did the face of the youth Christ, I think last week sometime, via live stream. So you're welcome to tune back into that and see that part. Dad, send me a message. Tell me how you're feeling today. And we've got just working in some of this kind of this dark back here. Really want that neck to feel round, and getting that little dark bit right in that corner. Kind of focused on that. I'm gonna have to scoot my reference down just a little bit so I can see that there is some light that falls on the chest here, but the rest is in shadow. I can bump it to the next kind of lightest value that I see. Again, use some of these to create kind of a neutral. It's warmer than that. I didn't want it to be too orangey because I think it was... So skin tones are hard. So as you're working on them, that's why I like, I had a bunch of these piles already mixed up so that I could work into them, make some changes, and slowly adjust them as needed, rather than... Sometimes it's nice not to have to dip directly into the tube paint colors, so it's kind of nice to have a few of these already ready. But if I do see a shift, like I lay down a color like this, the nice thing about having these up here too is like, ooh, that really needs to move in this direction, and I could just nab a little bit of that color and put it in. So I don't always mix up some colors beforehand, but sometimes I do. And it's hard to say exactly when I do what. Sometimes it's just kind of the flavor of the day, and whether... I think so yesterday I did the hands, some of the hands that weren't completed yet, and I decided to go ahead and mix up some of these colors, thinking, oh well, I'll do the hands, and then I've got this face and then one other, and to do yet. So I thought, oh, I'll mix these colors up, and that way that will just kind of save me some steps later. So planning ahead.
your dad ask, a scribe or a Pharisee?
Yes. Well, I think that was a comment and not a question. Or maybe whoever was there, I don't remember.
It does have a question mark, but...
Yeah, I don't remember what the narrative says. I'll have to crack open the good book and see what it says. So I'm trying to pay attention to just some of the subtle shifts I see in the shadow. It's going to matter. It's going to provide the structure of the neck, even the little bit that I can pay attention to. And once it's working, right now I don't really see it working, but once it does, we'll kind of keep moving. A little warmer. Yeah, it is exciting to see this project. I've got 2 more, and we'll probably live stream some of each of those as well in the coming days. So if you didn't quite make this one, or we've got another 2. They're smaller. They're just kind of 1 person each, but will be fun. Okay, I feel like that's a good block in. There's some rough edges there, but we're gonna just kind of work with that. It'll be okay. So anytime you have a color on your brush, I think it's a great time to just kind of take a look elsewhere in your painting and say, where else do I see this same color? Or where else do I see a similar color? Or some similar value. So here, the neck, I kind of feel like here, and in the brow, very similar in value. And so I will jump now to the brow. Under the nose, about the same. And possibly along here. I don't know how much of this I'll include or how much I'll make it a beard. That'll be the fun kind of artistic part of this, just to see how that turns out. So let's get into this brow a little bit, and keeping in mind we're gonna have to, I don't want to make it too dark, because there will be a white eyebrow on top of that. So the fun guessing game. See how it turns out. Kind of looked like it was warm, and then the shadow cooled off a little bit, so I dipped into the kind of mid-tone green, because that's what looked the closest to me. And then, then I'll kind of work my way up. So then I kind of look up, I feel like it a little cooler, not so much as green, as much as kind of a purpley blue, and I'll kind of carry that. I'll just kind of carry that shadow right up to the edge of the head covering here. And then I'll again take a look, see where are some of the darkest points, and the underneath the nose is warmer, and so I'll take a little bit of this kind of warm, dark, reddish mid-tone. And I'll start there. It may get darker than this, but it might not. And set that underneath there. And again, what I like about having a couple of references here to work from is, like, I can still follow a lot of the shapes, like on my face, for like where shadows go. But I don't have to get too too carried away with it. For the time being, I'm going to go ahead and put in kind of a darker, and I'm going to warm this up a little bit. I'm going to dig into the alizarin crimson, so it's just a little more intense in the chroma for just this upper lip. We'll get a little more specific on that. I think I like the mouth closed. Now that I'm just looking at it. Few other things. The shadow cast down here, and I can see on both on my picture and then the picture of the man that I painted from life. You know, I can kind of see the light situation is not too different, so there's a little bit of a cast shadow on top of the mustache. I'm going to pay attention to that. Okay. I didn't come back in here with a smaller brush just really quick. There's a few dark spots here, the nostril. That would be that kind of dark that I was talking about, really trying to find those dark values. Parts of the eye, surprisingly, aren't as dark black as you would think. You know, I'm still seeing kind of almost a similar value as to maybe parts of the nostril. I'm going to create a little bit more darkness here in the corners of the mouth. It is nice too with kind of, I don't have to get a likeness. It does not have to fully look like me, and takes pressure off. But I will go ahead and kind of put some of these darker irises in. And this is a moment where the whites of the eyes are actually darker than the skin around it. And again, looking at my photo, the model that I worked from, his eyes he really wasn't an angry guy, but his eyes were so drawn down, and the brow was so heavy. In between in the modeling sessions, there's always breaks, and so during the breaks, I was like, I'm sorry, because the models always come and look at what you're working on. They want to see, hey, what do I look like in other people's eyes and other people's understanding? So I was apologizing to him, saying, I don't think you're this angry as I've depicted you. You're not giving off that vibe. So, all right, I'm gonna make some more moves here, just as some of the other kind of values that I see. Trying to pay attention to some of the color here. So that one felt nice and warm. This on this side is a little cooler. I'll just begin blocking these in. I think I'm on the edge of a cold. My daughter has one, and I'm kind of feeling it in the nasal passages, a little constriction. My voice changing a little bit. So you're catching me on the front side of it. what I'd like to achieve, and I don't know that I will, just I'd like to achieve a both a sense of wonder in the space and also skepticism, and you know those are the tall orders that one gives oneself in art, saying, "Oh, I'd like for it to communicate this," and sometimes it works, sometimes it happens. Create a little kind of shadow, warm shadow there. Gonna do the face here, and I'm gonna kind of start some of the color that I see here and there. And I think we're just about to the point where I should use a different brush so that I can build just some lighter values in and above the face. I'm not going to jump into the beard just yet. I'm going to kind of work my way into it after I've really established this in the mouth, and then I'll try to focus a little more. I'll just see what needs doing. Yep. All right. Jump into another brush. So I'm going to start picking up just some of the lighter values. So here, and if I'm kind of looking at that color, I'm asking myself, where do I see it? I kind of see it in this space. So it's good, just kind of point to begin somewhere. I see that same color kind of go over the top of the nose. And you can see just how much of a similar value that is to the ground layer I put down. So that ground layer is here, it's here, it's here, it's here. As you see a little bit of it here, and around the eyes. And do that on purpose so that if there are little bits that don't quite get covered, that does shine through. And again, always better to work on some sort of tone rather than just white. It's really hard to see your initial values when working on white. I feel like I see that same color here, a little bit in the brow. In certain parts of the nose, it's to make it too pink, but I think it's kind of reddish. You can always, in working on Caucasian skin tones, there's a lot of blood flow in the nose. It can be very red. Okay, I'm gonna search. I feel like I see some of that same color near the cheek. And then as soon as I put this down here, it just seemed too light. That okay, it kind of falls off a little faster. I do think that maybe here-ish, I still see some of that, but it's a lot darker faster. I was going to carry that down, but immediately noticed, no. That's not going to work. Okay. Looking around and saying, okay, what does, for instance, this side of the face look like in comparison to the nose I just put in? It's a little lighter. I think I've made this nose a little more ruddy, but I think it's one of those happy accidents. I'm gonna roll with it. So I'm gonna get a little bit of a lighter, a little more yellowy looks to me on the other side of the nose. It's probably a little too much yellow. Don't feel like it's quite working. So I can grab, some of the blue, some a little more of the kind of pink, and just calm it down. And if I really want to neutralize it, I can come in here with some of this kind of green midtone, and you can kind of notice how quickly that neutralizes something that was a little too orangey. The face does appear to get pretty red to the edge there. Kind of watching it, that kind of curve around. So I'm going to pull in some of those. One of those things you can really almost count on, that there is a red band here, nose, cheeks, and then it'll be cooler around the eyes, cooler around the neck, mouth and neck. And so sometimes you don't even have to look, but know that that's a tendency. I can kind of continue to search, look for that next bit of information. I do need to make a shadow there that I haven't really made yet, kind of looking at the way. Obviously I'm trying to use light from my face, but then start to use some of the coloration in the critical areas of the study I did. And that's where the fun comes in. Hopefully we end up with something worth looking at the end. A little bit lighter here, right between the eyes. I'm just going to block that shape in. And then it gets a little lighter above in the brow. So I'm going to get a little bit of that, and we may try to get a little more age into that. Leave it a little more brush worked, and find out kind of as we go. And this is all going on top of, I hesitate to call it a underpainting, because it's not really that. It was just a build-up of lights and darks. And then I'm going to move around and continue to kind of just build on top of these. There's a really light kind of pink color across the top of here. I may mix something. I don't really see what I'm looking for here, so I'm going to mix it. And because I'm just using straight white and straight cad red, it'll pop pretty hard, because it's not very neutralized with a bunch of other colors in it. So that was probably a little extreme. Add a little bit of this here as it works its way. Yeah. You'll notice I stopped right here because I see a subtle temperature shift, and I'm going to want to make this much more green, purple, and then around the eye, and that'll also, I think, create some of the age that I'm looking for. About the same over there, and you can see already, because I did stop there and I do have these kind of warm pinks and fleshy colors here, it already is kind of doing the thing. If I unfocus my eyes and look at it, it's starting to work, and I don't have a whole lot of information in there yet, so that's always a good sign. So I'm going to dig into some cooler colors. I'm not going to try to make it too exaggerated. It's never helpful. So if I get a little of this, a little bit of this here, a little bit of this kind of lighter blue, kind of lighter pink. Let's see if I can create some of those colors. It's a little darker than what I wanted, so now I can immediately come in here, get some of these lighter colors and lighten it up some. And you can kind of see how I will exaggerate my own bag here a little bit. To look like I could definitely say these are the eyes of a tired painter who's been painting too much lately. That kind of seems to go around, and I'm watching what this seems to do as it travels in around. Looks like it's just a little darker and a little warmer, so I can kind of pull. I'm just using the same brush. I'm going to pull a little more into that and kind of darken it as it goes around that cheekbone. I'm not painting with enough enthusiasm. David is yawning over here. Sorry, I'm not more exciting.
Listening to a podcast.
I know.
I woke up at like 4:30.
I kid you not. Here's my life is so exciting that I was in. Kids are a little ill, and so we tried to get them to bed early. But 100%, I was in bed by 8 o'clock on the dot. And I think I read for maybe just a page, and I was like, I think I could fall asleep, and I did. I woke up at 2 because my body was like, we only sleep for 6 to 7 hours. But I was able to get back to sleep amazingly. So I'm feeling all right. That's what I'm saying. All right. Like there's a little bit of a highlight right here at the edge. Sometimes I just get distracted and I think, oh yeah, I'd like to put that there. That's always fun. Okay, I've got a lot of crazy colors going on here. I'm good with that. I'm gonna just keep plugging away at just beginning to build up this area around this eye, and then we'll kind of move to the other side and continue blocking it out. Unless I get distracted, very possible I might just take off in a whole nother direction. There's a lot of light here. And I want to really get it. And I do have the nice reflection on the lower eyelid, and I will be playing that up when I get a chance. This eyelid color looks a little blue here, so I'm dipping into this kind of light white blue that I've created, and just kind of carry that over a little bit. Probably did so a little too far. Cover up this dark line. There is a line there, but I'm gonna just make it a little gentler. Get out my smaller brush. The line looks really warm, and even all this area here is just a lot warmer. So I'm going to kind of lightly put some of this red over the top of this area. And I just don't want it to be that dark of a, it's kind of a black, and I just needed a little more color. And I'll just carry this really, so I'm just kind of barely touching, just kind of looking at how dark this was here. This will also create a little more age. Not pushing this really too hard on the brush, because I don't want it to, I don't want to get a whole lot of that kind of red in there, but I need to get some. So in kind of working around the eye here, I'm just focusing on the things that I can see. It is really easy to imagine detail that's not there, and so the eyes are kind of down. They look more aged, and so I'm definitely going to channel that, and all the lines and wrinkles I can. Some of those color exaggerations that I have in place, I think are working there, so I'm gonna full steam ahead. And when painting it all, I think, we could say, oh, I see, this is, I think, especially notable in the studies. You see the group of the 3 studies that I have. You can tell this person has age. Yeah, of course, white hair, sure. But I think the other thing that you're noticing is that I've not made a line per se that says here's a wrinkle. I've done it with color and with shape, and so I'm going to do the same thing as I work here as well. I'm going to slowly work into some of these shapes that will do most of the telling. I'm not trying to create faces of anger, so you got to be a little bit careful when working here in the nose. As I said with my model, hey, sorry that I made you look so angry, and just, knowing that there's a lot can happen if I'm not careful in and around the brow, but I am going to need to create some age there. All right, I'm liking how it's going so far. It's I'm looking around right now, trying to find a few spots where I haven't, didn't quite get the top of the nostril in here. Same color probably extends down into here. I want to play up this line. A lot of age here. I think I want to adjust my drawing. I don't want to make him look too much like me, but I think, if a nose is a little crooked, a little bony, that will not hurt anything. What I'm trying to achieve. There is a little bit of a dark outline that follows the nose up as the shadow comes around, and I'm going to try to continue that. So as of right now, I've not, on this this eye here, I've not put anything down for the kind of what you would call the whites of the eye. Everything is just this ground layer that's been underneath everything. But as you can see, it's it's working, and I say that to say sometimes it's fine just the way it is. We don't have to get too specific. If anything, it's a little darker, so I could make, especially on this side here, this just kind of goes on up. Okay. Taking a look. Kind of deciding what is the next point that I want to spend some time on. I think I'd like to get in here with a little bit of a cool, that was too light. Just reminding you, I make mistakes all the time, and I have to then come in and adjust those. So when you make those mistakes, that's a good thing. Because then at least you know. So I'm taking a look here at this other side. A nice cooler color, I feel like, on the outside of this eye. Brow extends out a little more than I had it here. I forget that we can play with a nice Gandalf-like bushy eyebrow. I'm gonna go ahead and extend some of this kind of more greeny skin tone up here. it's kind of one of those things where I, don't necessarily see it. I guess it gets a little cooler. But one of those things, you can use to your advantage is really play with warms and cools to create some space here. So for instance, if I take my little liner and this hard edge here that I want to soften, I'm going to try to do it with a bit of a purple, something that's a little cooler, because it'll kind of send it back around. And I see that a little bit, if I'm really kind of looking at that edge. It looks a little warmer, but I'm going to take this. It's probably just about right. It's a little cooler, but still has some of that warmth. And I'll just kind of work that into that edge. It both softens that edge, which, anytime you have a soft edge, it's gonna. These are all these things you can play with. Soft edges go back, sharp edges or hard edges come forward. Cool colors go back, warm colors come forward. Dark values go back, light values come forward, and then lastly, chroma or saturation, color saturation does the same thing. So something bright colors, or I should say saturated, intense colors come forward, neutrals recede. And there are 4 elements that you can play with beyond just trying to capture realism that are going to allow you to create space or create some of those illusions that you're trying to do in your artwork. Just knowing those things alone, those 4 just tricks of the eye, I would call it, will take you a long way. All right, this kind of came in a little bit. This is a drawing adjustment I just made that I think was important. I had drawn it out a little farther from the eye than was true. So that's needed, that adjustment. All right, so I'm still kind of working on this side of the face, sometimes getting a little bogged down and distracted. Happens all the time. Get excited about something that's happening elsewhere in the painting and jump on it. I think I'm about to sneeze. Let's see. Talked about it, so it might not happen.
Bye, Steve.
Got me. Thanks. Okay, so that wanted to get that warm color. That's a little too intense. I'm gonna try to put it on this side as well. See if I can pull it off. I don't know that I can. Since I've got a little bit of that on my brush, I'm gonna warm up this edge. I want to make it look so red that it appears like it's bleeding, but there was a kind of a warm shadow here being cast. What a great opportunity. I've got this here. I can just go ahead and put that in place. Opportunists, you're painting, you have a lot of opportunities. Kind of find those. Oh, this will work here, or that will work here. And this is really deep red and dark down here. And all of that, all those capillaries in the nose and around the kind of semi-see-through transparent cartilage, all those things creating kind of a really warm little spot of the face there. Just paying attention to some of those cues. As always, if you have a question, let me know. I'm starting to play a little bit now with just, got a little distracted, as I promised you I would. Creating a few hard lines, few where I thought, oh, I can get the look I'm going for. It's almost an accident sometimes. Exaggerating a few of the things I see in the face to create age. Okay, back to that eye. Off track, totally off track. So I'm looking at the shapes that I have there already, and I'm kind of describing this eyelid, and there, what I don't have yet are some lighter values on either side of the corner of the eye, and then these kind of darker shadows. And so I'm gonna block those in and kind of see where we end up here. And I think we may be able to start thinking about transitioning into the beard, which is going to be the fun part, where I'm going to be looking at some of the life studies that I did of this man who posed for me about a month ago, and then kind of work some of those things that I see into this face and see how it turns out. Again, this is one of those exciting things with painting where it's like, oh, maybe it might work. That's also why I'm saving it for last, because I'm a coward. So. Come in here. Some of the little shapes I see. That's probably it for the moment. And I used to use still holding my 6 brush here, and I just kind of use that little tip, that corner. It's one of the reasons why I like a flat over, a lot of times, use filberts. The flat is nice because it's like I can do a line, I can do a shape, or I can do kind of a pinpoint, all with one brush. I like the versatility. Trying to create these heavy eyelids. Okay. Deciding. A lot of painting is not necessarily like, oh, I'm gonna a lot of it is just jumping in, but then a lot of it is kind of stopping for a moment, thinking, deciding on the next what the next approach is. So I want to really get this area underneath the eye just a little dark. Also seems like it is more neutral, has less of the warmth. So, I kind of put this sort of yellowy green skin tone on there. I think it needs a little more of a purple tinge. So I will Don't like any of the ones I have mixed. A lot of times I can use those, but I'm going to get a little bit of lead white, alizarin crimson, ultramarine blue. Gotta create a little color. We'll see if we're anywhere near. It's a little too blue for my liking. Although, you know, since I've got this on the brush, I'm gonna put a few in there. It wasn't so bad or so off. Put a little on that eyelid too. I like this purple. Where else can I put it? I think I like it right here. Maybe right here too. I just kind of want to put it everywhere right now. These are those moments where you're like, everything is out the window. We're just gonna see where it lands. It'll kind of cool off this as it goes down to the beard. Maybe not always advised to do some of those things. Just decide, oh, I'm going to start putting this in different places. But I tried to kind of look in a few spots that I said, oh, do I see this little bit of kind of intense purple? And one thing I would like is there's like kind of I want to get this green right on this edge. Edges are a great spot to really pump up some color. And they give a lot of energy to what you're working on. And then you it's kind of a way to, you know, skin tones by their very nature are low in chroma. You know, they're not, you don't have a lot of red, a lot of yellow. All these mixtures are very, very subtle. And so I think that when you get into your edges, is your opportunities. Like, you know, I see a very kind of red edge here on the cheek. Told you I'd get distracted. I'm not even working on what I was supposed to. But I'm gonna take a little bit of alizarin crimson, maybe a little cad red, and just kind of drop it in here. Really, you know, a lot of intensity, but it's right on the edge. I can carry it in a little bit too if I want. But that creates some of that, yeah, I mean, the feast for the eyes, I think is a good way to put it. You know, when we're working on skin tones, we're working on the human form, like, yeah, you know, I could mix a range of kind of oranges and, you know, from dark to light, and I could work with those. But, you know, there's all these little, and again, why I will always love working for the figures, there's all these little bits of color that you can kind of grasp onto and pull out and create kind of these warm, cool transitions. And yeah, I will always love the human face. So you've caught me just being excited about what I do. Really loving the subtleties. All right, I'm going to try to create, I'm going to get back on task here. Create a little more. This may have been, I don't know if that was the right decision. I don't know that I like that move. Didn't like it. Take it back out. Didn't need a line, it just kind of needs shape and color. I'm going to continue to try to figure out what's happening here. I don't have a lot of information in the eye. It's really very dark. You know, and every little bit matters. That's the other thing that can be frustrating. You know, now he decided to do a certain thing, and now his eye, you know, looks different. It's doing something different. Carry this down, shape it a little better. Just a little less red by coming back in with some of my green. Doesn't need to be so bloodshot. Bring back in these millimeters. Millimeters matter. So much. Seeing I didn't have a connection here. And that highlight that's so nice on the bottom of this is not as pronounced on the other side of the face. So calm it down some, darken it a little bit. Can still do a little bit on this side, and I probably will just. Okay, I'm going to take some of this highlight and push it in here a little bit. Into some of the nose. Into some of the eye in here. I think I'm getting to the point where I'm kind of liking how this upper face is looking, and so but it's getting, try to work things evenly, and obviously at this point, you know, I'm not really taking it down into this other space, and so until I do that, I'm gonna be feeling unease because it's like there's some good kind of energy happening here, and I want that to work before I see how that's working along with the beard. All right, so I'm looking at, now I'm going to be spending more time, rather than looking at the source photo of myself, to kind of just see those upper facial structures, and I will be looking more at my studies that I made and trying to recreate some of the same transitions between beard and face, mixing up some of the colors that I saw there in the beard, and then just laying those down and trying to figure all that out. Before I jump into that, I might, this is kind of jumping into it, but I'm gonna put down what I deem to be the kind of lower lip color that does, a little bit of it comes out. You can see some of it. But then the rest of it sort of falls into shadow around it, you know, kind of looking at my source. Just the mustache tends to kind of cover. And this will be a moment where I end up using a mixture of my source and also what's happening with, you know, I've already established some of the lights here in the beard, so I'm going to be using that. I'm going to be kind of just working on it all together. So the face, I feel like, turns and gets dark pretty quick here. We get our shadow line in here, and we can exaggerate that a little bit. If we want to make the face a little more drawn, and by drawn I mean drawn with age. Cheekbones a little more protruding, and so I think right now the big problem area is in here, and I will continue to try to work on those. So I was saving this larger brush for me to begin building up, and I just having a wild time with hair. A bit of thinner. Probably noticed by now I've not used much thinner. I've been mostly just working from my color piles and building up some good texture with the paint to kind of give this man who doesn't exist, who is just a mixture of parts of my face and parts of someone else's, a place in a painting. So these are mostly kind of gray tones. So as obvious as it seems, I'll use some of those. And these are still kind of, I was using these earlier. I'm gonna dip into some of my colors that I used for some of the fabric elsewhere. Since it's still wet, that's always nice. I didn't have to mix it. I'm gonna have to guess. I'm gonna guess that this is a lot darker as it comes back around here. And kind of looking at both how my face structure works. This dark line here, there's going to have to be a little more of kind of some in-between spaces that I kind of work into. Again, mostly invention here. I'm kind of looking, guessing. Gonna get it wrong, so but when I do get it wrong, then it's an opportunity to hop back in and see kind of what's happening. I can still think of it in terms of volume, and I'm gonna try to do that. So it looks like mostly on my model, his sides were a little darker than the front. Still a little bit of shadow kind of underneath here, some of that kind of cast shadow that we made earlier. We can extend that a little bit. Some gray, not always white. Areas that really blend in. And when it's not working, then we kind of come back in here, grab some more of that white, and just work right back in. You know, this kind of looking at the face he's got and I'm grateful for this this study, this From Life study, because it can just give me a little bit of insight onto, you know, how that mustache goes around there, and those are the just things I wouldn't have any other way. Get some of my kind of dark here to work into that. I'm just kind of following the breadcrumbs. A little more lighter on top here. Looking at some of the color transitions that I did before that worked. Purple was nice, worked. Kind of seeing a few of the things like, you know, this being too light back here and not traveling around. It's just one of the nice things about really beginning to get all of it worked is, you know, there was a little bit of this that just really wasn't moving in and around, and I could just see, oh, okay, I need to add a little bit of that darkness to create some of that overall shape. You know, it's all, you know, we're thinking about an overall kind of, you know, round ball shape of the head, you know, that we're trying to describe in the light. And then you have a numerous of those same things happening with each eye, nose, the beard itself. So continue to play with those things until I was like, ah, yes, here it is. I don't know if the red was the right choice there. It's working. Okay. Keep Now and then glancing back, seeing, what was happening, and probably a little too light on the corner. Got to really make it feel like it's moving back in, just creating a little bit of darkness. At the same time, that doesn't mean you want this strange dark line that comes all the way down, and then that would end up looking unnatural. So it's a little bit of a push and a pull. And you can see that just some of that addition just changes the way that kind of moves back. I want it to come back in and around. So if you've seen the sort of color that I'm putting in my brush, you'd say you're painting a white beard, but by far, from anything, definitely not using white. These are color mixtures of, and it was even kind of rubbing, kind of slowly working in some black back into some of these areas. So, maybe I'll work on the underside here. Look at my chin just to see what happens. He had some really cool, my model had some nice kind of motion that went in, down, and then up, and so maybe I'll see if I can achieve some of that. And if I'm careful about it, I don't, kind of overdo it. I can kind of just do just a few little things like this to create a little bit of texture on the edge. Let the brush kind of go over it. I'm probably not going to do any more, but that's a thing that can do to create a little more of just texture, softer edge. So you have this really nice white. The brush is getting kind of dirty. If I'm going to be pulling in some of those tense parts were up there. Extend a little bit there. Here, and I know I am pulling directly from the white, but that's only because I'm working back into what I have there already. Create just a little bit of light on the top end of this. On the mustache before it kind of goes back around. Use the faithful mirror. If you don't have one in your studio, definitely get one. It really forces you to see it fresh. And it can be kind of brutal. I think it's good. I want to just create a little more. Right now I do have a lot of good curvature. This may or may not be a good move. Just want to see if I can create a little more bulk here. Just kind of one more layer of movement. I don't want to overdo it. Okay, I think for the moment, I'm gonna not touch that for a bit, and I'm gonna kind of try to focus on the mouth and see see what I can do. Create a line, a shadow underneath the lip, lower lip, and you might notice I haven't really kind of, again, looking for that kind of shrewd skepticism, but yeah, hard things to achieve. And let's see, kind of assessing and looking. I do think we are just about there. So I can solve some of the things I don't like about the mouth, and it's definitely the corners and a little bit of, yeah, some things I'll have to solve on my own later. It's kind of a common point when I get to about this stage of common place, right? It's usually where I get the most quiet. So you must forgive me when I kind of get into this space. Trying to solve those last few issues, trying to think through carrying the beard up a little higher and around the mouth. Just trying to soften a few of these transitions. Just kind of hard and around the mouth. being a little careful, taking a little care, because you know I'm kind of liking some portions, not liking others, and a lot of times I'll kind of hold up a hand, hide part of it, see what a. Okay, so definitely for me it's definitely the mouth. I think I'm pretty okay with everything but the mouth. So I'm gonna have to do a little work there in order to get that to where I feel like I'm both capturing the spirit of the model on one hand and the live studies on the other, kind of all coming together into a final piece. So I'm constantly looking, that might be a spot. So I was looking and I was like, I'm not really sure what's happening with this little bit of white right here. So we're going to try to cover it up and see if that helps. I don't know. There's the parts where there's just a lot of looking, surmising, guessing. Well, I probably will go back into it a little more, but honestly, I think that probably just about does it for today's stream. I'll probably problem solve it. I just won't make you sit there and and watch the problem solving. Tell you what, I'll give you one more thing. I didn't really address the light falling on the neck yet. It looks very kind of blue down here, and so I'm gonna kind of lay this color in here, yeah. And then from up above, it's a little kind of lighter bluish purple as it falls down, and I'll work on the softness, the shadow, because by this point that it's very diffused. So kind of working here. Looking into that side too. Yeah, even that helps. It's funny how all these little details, once addressed, are like, oh yeah, that does give a little better look to it just by paying attention to a few of those things. All right, I think that's it for now. I'm gonna come back in and I'll probably but just work on that beard a little more. I think there's just some structure issues in and around here that I won't subject you to that process. Probably also come back in, add a little bit more eyebrow. This one definitely needs, this kind of already has the feel of a white eyebrow here, just from some of the underpainting. But I would probably carry that on. Maybe I can just do that for fun right now. See if in a few brief strokes we can kind of give it that sense. Let's try not to overdo it. Okay. Thank you so much for watching. I will not force you any more moments to sit here. If you have questions or comments, you can leave them, and I will get back to them, even if it's the year 2053. So I hope you are all doing well, and we'll see you next time. Thanks. God bless.